Excuse me? Are you serious? Well, I got to hear this.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and MCU. I'm your host, Warren Thompson, and please excuse how my voice sounds today. I was at a concert Saturday night and Sunday night, so my voice is gone. Side note, if you like K-pop, be sure to follow my K-pop channel. And even though my voice is gone, we still have to talk about this epic news that is also kind of sad at the same time. As it turns out, there were actually supposed to be other members of the Illuminati, members that I know fans would have loved to see. And some of them were actually rumored to be in the movie, but unfortunately did not make their debut. However, we are finding out a lot about the movie now that it's finally been released, and the producers and the writers and the director are doing interviews now. So we're finding out a lot more about the movie and what could have been, and as it turns out, they actually did film some of these scenes with these other members of the Illuminati, but cut them. Which is really sad because we could have seen some members like Ghost Rider.
Director's cut, please.
It's actually been revealed that there were 5 other members of the Illuminati that were cut from the movie. So let's go ahead and break down this latest report in this video. And of course, if you're new, be sure to subscribe.
Did y'all learn anything from the Batman or Spider-Man No Way Home?
There are going to be spoilers for Multiverse of Madness in this video, so if you haven't seen it yet, now's your time to click away. Although I'm pretty sure the entire roster of the Illuminati is out there now. But let's talk about who could have possibly joined them. And we're going to start off with a personal favorite of mine. Deadpool. Now, I was actually pretty upset that Deadpool did not appear in this movie in any way, shape, or form. I just personally feel that it would have been a great way to bring Deadpool into the MCU. However, there was never any guarantee that it would be the exact same Deadpool from the Fox universe, but it would have been a great way to do it. And before the movie came out, there were actually rumors going around that Deadpool was going to appear in one of the post-credit scenes for Multiverse of Madness. But instead, we just got Bruce Campbell kind of looking at the camera and laughing. Joke's on us, I guess. However, as it turns out, there was some truth to that rumor, as that was actually supposed to happen. The original plans were for Deadpool to appear in one of the post-credit scenes. This report is coming from James Clement from the Weekly Planet podcast. And according to him and his sources, he was informed of 5 different characters that had scenes that were filmed, but ultimately cut from the final version of the film. In fact, the last thing that he was quoted saying is that, and Deadpool was going to be in the post-credit scene. And this is a true bummer because I think a lot of fans would have really loved to see this. But recently, the writer of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Michael Waldron, came out and said that it just didn't really work. Now, this could be to several different reasons. Since there were 5 characters cut, there were probably different reasons for each of these scenes being cut. But for Deadpool, we know that Ryan Reynolds has been actively working on Deadpool 3. So perhaps it just didn't work with the storyline. And you never know. It could have just been another joke post-credit scene and wouldn't have actually meant that he would be in the MCU. Maybe. But you never know. I'm actually thinking that Ryan Reynolds has probably written a pretty good way for Deadpool to make his way from the Fox universe to the MCU. And I'm really crossing my fingers that it's Deadpool kills the Fox universe and kills all of the characters in it and then goes to the MCU. So I'm not completely bummed, but it's still a pretty big bummer we didn't see Deadpool. Now, another character that was supposed to be in the film that had a cut scene was actually our Mordo, Earth 616's Mordo. The one who we all assumed would be the bad guy of Doctor Strange 2, because in the first film, they set him up to be the villain and he started taking out sorcerers. And according to this report, he was going to go up against Wanda and Wanda was going to kill him. They could have possibly not put that in the movie so they could have him come back in another Doctor Strange movie. After all, he is a pretty prominent character in the comics. So it's kind of good that they left that open, because now we can return. Then this report mentions Balder the Brave. Now, this would have actually been pretty cool, especially if you consider the recent report that Daniel Craig was supposed to play somebody a part of the Illuminati, and that character was reportedly, according to my buddy Paul over at Heavy Spoilers, Balder the Brave. Now, there are mixed reports about this. Both reports say that Daniel Craig, James Bond himself, was supposed to be a part of the Illuminati. However, Paul says he was supposed to be Balder the Brave, but Justin Kroll from Deadline states that he was actually supposed to be playing Mr. Fantastic. Now, while I think it would have been really cool to see Daniel Craig as Mr. Fantastic, I actually think he would much better fit the role of Balder the Brave. Now, Balder the Brave in the comics is an Asgardian, and he's the half-brother and friend of Thor. And that's why I think it would have been really cool to see him, just because of that connection. Now, I heard some things before the movie came out about this scene with Balder the Brave. And apparently, he was supposed to die pretty much right away. Apparently what was supposed to happen was that the Scarlet Witch would collapse the roof down and it would fall on top of him and kill him in his chair. I'm not sure if that was what they actually filmed, but that's a rumor that I heard a while ago. And then there was supposed to be a Magneto scene. Yes, Magneto was supposed to be a part of the Illuminati, and it was actually supposed to be Michael Fassbender's Magneto. And this is really, really interesting because Professor X was obviously played by Patrick Stewart. It wasn't James McAvoy's Professor X. So it's weird that they wouldn't get Ian McKellen to do it, or perhaps maybe they did and he turned the role down, or it just didn't work out. But there is a line in the movie that is actually very interesting. Professor X says, just because someone stumbles and loses their way doesn't mean they're lost forever. Now this is very interesting because this is almost an exact quote from Days of Future Past, where Patrick Stewart's Professor Xavier is communicating via telepathy to his past self, James McAvoy's Professor X, where he says, just because someone stumbles and loses their path doesn't mean they're lost forever. Sometimes we all need a little help. And what's interesting is that he was speaking about Magneto then. So perhaps there could have been some connection between Professor X's Magneto and Michael Fassbender's Magneto. Now, the main reason I would have actually loved to see this is because there's a storyline in the comics where Magneto is Wanda's father. It's complicated because it was retconned and then it was retconned out again, but for a moment in time, that's how it was. Magneto was the father of the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. And I'm really wondering that if they decided to include Magneto in the actual final cut of the film, if they would have talked about that. If he simply would have addressed her as his daughter. That would have been a definite bigger truth. Bigger than the one that Professor X dropped on Doctor Strange. And what's really interesting is that Ian McKellen even tweeted recently that if he had a daughter, he would want her to be like Elizabeth. Could this be hinting at a possible future story where Magneto is the father of the Scarlet Witch in the actual MCU? I'm not sure, but I really hope so. And of course, last but definitely not least, Ghost Rider was supposed to be a part of the Illuminati. Now, nothing has been said about who the actor was supposed to be to play Ghost Rider, but since this report says that the scenes were shot, that means that there was indeed an actor playing Ghost Rider. It's not like this was an idea, but they never shot it. They actually shot this. Now, I'm kind of okay with them not including all of these cameos because they're all going to die. That's what James Clement states in his podcast, that these characters were all going to die. They were going to join the other members of the Illuminati and fight and lose to Wanda. And yeah, I would have loved to see that, but I'd like a permanent Ghost Rider in the MCU. I'd like a permanent Magneto and other X-Men and Deadpool. And if they found a really perfect actor to play one of these roles, I'd like to be surprised down the road. Now, don't get me wrong, I really want John Krasinski to play Mr. Fantastic in the main MCU. I think he looked absolutely perfect as Mr. Fantastic, and I think, of course, his acting was on point. This is something that I think needs to happen. After all, in Multiverse of Madness, they established that some variants can look exactly the same. All of the Doctor Strange variants look the same, and the Wanda variant looked the same as well. So fingers crossed that our Earth 616 Mr. Fantastic looks just like John Krasinski so he can play that role. And of course, I would absolutely love for his wife to play Sue Storm as well. But in the meantime, let me know what you think about these cut scenes. Would you have liked to have seen these? Which I'm assuming the answer is yes, but let me know
or she could be Black Widow
in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any videos, news, and live updates. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Wolf Wolf.
because Tom Cruise was supposed to be Iron Man, or they wanted him at least, and Emily Blunt was supposed to be Black Widow, but she dropped out, and Scarlett Johansson got it. Look, them killing them all is ridiculous, but I would have liked to see them all. Might have made for a much better movie. Who knows? Guess we'll have to wonder and hope that they give us something that's uncut, or at least deleted scenes. You know what I mean? Go over there and subscribe to Cosmic Wonder. If you enjoyed my reaction, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and share. 10 million subscribers. Woo!